Every student in the school gets randomly paired with another student and they have to live together like a married couple just to pass their exams. We see our main character Gyru, who is your average certified ugly loser, but somehow destiny decides to rizz up his life by pairing him with the most beautiful baddie in the class, Akari Watanabe. Now these two have to act romantic like a married couple together and keep their couple score above 0 or they'll fail and get kicked out. Imagine your entire academic future depending on Riz. The story starts with Shiori Sakurazuka, Gyru's childhood crush, meeting Akari at a temple. Akari instantly gets embarrassed after realizing someone saw her there and runs away like she got caught committing a crime. At school, Gyru and his best friend Kamo were busy talking about video games, and this is where we find out Gyru has feelings for Shiori. But before this man can continue, Akari and her friend walk over and start scolding them for blocking the stairs. However, the second Akari's crush Minami Tenjin walks by, her entire personality changes instantly. After class, the teacher finally announces the random marriage pairs and explains that every student must live together with their assigned partner for a few months while pretending to be married. According to the school, this is supposed to prepare them for adult life, because apparently fake flirting teaches you how to survive taxes and rent payments. Meanwhile, Shiori wishes Gyru good luck with his partner, while Gyru secretly prays to end up paired with her. On the other hand, Shiori just hopes she gets someone familiar and comfortable. The teacher then explains the rules properly. Every student gets paired with someone of the opposite gender, they'll receive private rooms together, and their relationship scores will directly affect their grades and annual exams. And of course, Gyru's bad luck activates immediately. Instead of getting paired with Shiori, he gets paired with Akari. Honestly, after looking at Akari, calling this bad luck feels illegal. Meanwhile, Shiori ends up paired with Minami, who also happens to be Akari's crush. This school didn't create couples, it created emotional warfare. Once everything settles down, Akari immediately starts roasting Gyru for having absolutely zero experience with girls. As the two argue, their relationship score instantly drops to -3. Bro's Riz was so terrible even the grading system rejected him personally. Akari then explains her plan. According to the rules, if a pair manages to reach A rank, they're allowed to switch partners while keeping their scores. Meaning Akari could end up with Minami while Gyru could finally be with Shiori. But Gyru gets embarrassed at the idea because it would require him to actually act romantic with Akari. This man treats romance like it's a contagious disease. To convince him, Akari suddenly gets close to him and their score actually rises. But because Gyru is a professionally trained coward, he immediately runs away to buy drinks. Outside, he sees Shiori and Minami walking together while Shiori happily says she's glad she got paired with Minami. That sentence hits Gyru harder than a truck-kun collision. The man returns home emotionally destroyed. Akari actually tries comforting him, but Gyru assumes she's just messing with his feelings. She then quietly tells him that if she were his real wife, she wouldn't be able to ignore him being upset either. Hearing that finally softens him a little and he agrees to go along with her plan. Later, Kamo comes to pick Gyru up, but before he leaves, Akari suddenly tells him to kiss her. Meanwhile, Kamo is outside spamming the doorbell like a food delivery driver who's already late for his next order. Gyru completely panics and accidentally kisses Akari on the lips before sprinting out of the room. Akari is left totally speechless because she never expected this loser to actually go for it, and thanks to that kiss, their score finally resets back to 0. Honestly, that's impressive for a guy whose existence usually generates negative points automatically. That night, Gyru dreams about Shiori waking him up with a kiss, but reality immediately punches him in the face because it's actually Akari yelling at him for not doing house chores. My guy is living in dream wife versus real wife mode every single day. A week later, Gyru sees Shiori and Minami arriving at school together looking like the perfect couple straight out of a romance poster. The teacher then tells Gyru and Akari she wants to meet them after school. Watching Shiori slowly grow closer to Minami completely crushes Gyru emotionally. He even tries acting depressed on purpose, hoping Shiori will come comfort him, but she doesn't even look his way. After school, Gyru tells Akari that the teacher called him in for a meeting. Akari refuses to come along because she already had plans to go to karaoke with her friends. And of course, Minami was going to be there too. Meanwhile, Gyru walks alone to meet the teacher, who tells him that their scores have been terrible lately and if things continue like this, they could end up in serious trouble. After the meeting, Gyru waits for the rain to stop, and suddenly Shiori arrives too because she forgot to bring an umbrella. She quietly sits beside him, and out of nowhere she suddenly hugs him, causing Gyru's brain to completely shut down like an old laptop trying to run 10 games at once. But before this man dies from overthinking, Shiori explains that she thought a doodle on the glass was actually a bug. That's when Gyru realizes why she grabbed Minami's hand earlier that morning too. Basically, Shiori is terrified of imaginary insects while Gyru is terrified of actual women. Then Shiori shyly asks him to call her by her first name again, just like when they were kids. Gyru is about to say it when Minami suddenly appears with an umbrella to pick her up. Bro became the third wheel in his own love story. Gyru awkwardly tells Shiori to go ahead with Minami while he waits for the rain to stop. Fate apparently remembered this anime still needs drama because outside, Akari was secretly waiting for him with an umbrella. The two walk home together, and Akari notices how depressed Gyru looks. Instead of teasing him, she actually encourages him not to give up. Back at their apartment, Akari cooks an omelette to improve their couple score, and Gyru awkwardly offers to feed her. After teasing him for acting nervous, Akari finally eats from his spoon. The atmosphere suddenly gets super romantic and they slowly lean toward each other, looking like they're about to kiss, until Gyru's phone rings at the worst possible moment. Bro's luck is so tragic even technology itself sabotages his romance. Both of them immediately get flustered and confused about why their hearts are racing so fast. Later that night, Akari wakes Gyru up right in the middle of his dream about kissing Shiori. She asks him to stay awake with her because she's too scared to watch a horror movie alone. Gyru is confused but agrees anyway. Both of them immediately get flustered and confused about why their hearts are racing so fast. When he asks why she's even watching horror movies if she's terrified of them, Akari explains that couples apparently earn bonus points for watching scary movies together. This school really turned romance into a side quest system, but eventually Gyru notices how genuinely scared she is and turns the TV off. After that, Akari suddenly pulls out matching couple pajamas she bought for both of them. Then she casually starts changing clothes right in front of him and tells him to turn around. Gyru's soul nearly leaves his body, and right at that moment the power suddenly goes out. Akari instantly panics and clings onto Gyru like he's the last human alive during the apocalypse. Meanwhile, Gyru's brain completely stops functioning because this man is fighting for his life, trying not to look at her plot. But somehow he manages to calm himself down and focuses on comforting her instead. Using his phone flashlight, he creates a small light to make her feel safer. Akari, almost crying, tells him not to look at her and asks him to stay close and tell her a story to distract her. But because Gyru shares one brain cell with a goldfish, he accidentally starts telling her a horror story instead. To calm herself down, Akari lights an aromatic candle her friend Natsumi gave her, and before long she slowly falls asleep in Gyru's arms. Looking at her peaceful face, Gyru quietly hugs her and accidentally whispers that she's really cute. The moment those words leave his mouth, even he gets shocked. A week later, the new scores are announced, and Gyru discovers that he and Akari jumped all the way from E rank to B rank. Meanwhile, Akari reveals that Shiori and Minami actually dropped down to E rank, and that becomes a huge problem because if they want to switch partners, both couples need to have the same rank. At school, Shiori talks with her friend Mei Himano and admits she still feels uncomfortable around Minami. She explains that she only wanted a familiar partner because talking to strangers makes her nervous, which is why their score ended up so low. Meanwhile, Gyru catches a fever and stays home sick. Akari tells him she's going out to a cafe with her friends and will come back late. Gyru gets secretly disappointed because deep down he wanted Akari to take care of him. But suddenly the rom-com plot armor activates at full power because Shiori shows up at his house to nurse him after Akari informed her he was sick. Shiori explains that she wanted to repay him for taking care of her when they were kids. Gyru silently thanks Akari for setting this up because this man genuinely cannot progress his own love life unless Akari carries the entire mission for him. Shiori prepares soup for Gyru, and while waiting he starts regretting never confessing his feelings to her earlier. Then Shiori finally brings the soup over. Completely overjoyed, Gyru instantly grabs the bowl and starts eating by himself, only to realize Shiori actually planned to feed him personally because he was sick. Bro fumbled free romantic soup. Later, Gyru asks Shiori about her poor scores with Minami. Shiori admits she still feels uncomfortable around him and quietly says she would have been much happier if Gyru had been her partner instead. Hearing that nearly overloads Gyru emotionally. He tries encouraging her, but gets too embarrassed and hides under his blanket instead. Classic Gyru behavior. Half emotional support, half professional coward. Shiori finishes washing the dishes and before leaving, she notices that Gyru has fallen asleep. She slowly leans closer like she's about to kiss him, but stops at the last second and quietly leaves the room instead. Bro got almost kissed by his childhood crush and slept through the entire event. This man's timing is genuinely cursed. The next morning, Gyru thanks Akari for sending Shiori to take care of him and promises that he'll do everything he can to help Shiori and Minami grow closer together. Surprisingly, Akari doesn't seem very happy hearing that. Of course she doesn't. At this point, jealousy has basically become a permanent app running in the background of her brain. The following day, Akari cooks breakfast for Gyru and casually asks if Shiori is good at cooking too. Gyru Gyru jokingly says he never imagined Akari was the cooking type. But the truth is Akari has been practicing because she wants to impress Minami with homemade lunches. She asks Gyru to taste her food, and when he tries the rolled omelette their score immediately goes up. Gyru says it tastes good but would probably be better if it were a little sweeter. Akari instantly replies that she didn't make it for him anyway. She made it for Minami and Gyru was just the test subject. Bro got emotionally roasted and fed at the same time. The next day, Kamo gets jealous after seeing Gyru's homemade lunch because his own partner can't cook at all. While talking, Kamo jokes that Gyru's life is already set now that he's living with the hottest girl in school. Right on cue, Akari suddenly appears and asks Gyru to compliment her cooking again. But this man repeats the same comment about the omelette not being sweet enough, causing the two of them to start arguing immediately. Watching them bicker, Kamo just stands there smiling like an old married couple observer. The next morning, Akari prepares the final version of the lunchbox for Minami and lets Gyru taste the omelette one last time. Gyru realizes it still isn't sweet enough, and strangely enough he feels disappointed knowing she's putting so much effort into cooking for another guy instead of him. To make things worse, Akari also dresses up beautifully before meeting Minami. Gyru notices she's never dressed this nicely for him before, and the jealousy finally starts hitting him too. Akari gets nervous about meeting Minami, so she suddenly asks Gyru to kiss her again like last time because it helped calm her down. Gyru nearly short-circuits on the spot, but just before anything happens, the doorbell rings, and standing outside is Shiori carrying an apple pie she baked for them. Shiori casually mentions that she's also been cooking meals for Minami lately and that he likes sweet food. Hearing that instantly crushes Akari's confidence, and she decides not to give Minami the lunchbox anymore. Meanwhile, Shiori quietly hopes Gyru will enjoy her pie instead. After Shiori leaves, Gyru tries cheering Akari up by telling her she has plenty of qualities besides cooking that could make Minami fall for her. But Akari still looks depressed, so in a desperate attempt to help, Gyru blurts out that she has an amazing figure too. And then this absolute genius accidentally takes it even further by saying he wouldn't mind sleeping with her. The second those words leave his mouth, Gyru freezes like his soul disconnected from the server. Akari immediately pushes him onto the sofa, climbs on top of him, and asks if he's ever thought about getting closer to her before. Gyru's emotions completely go wild, and with Akari's plot directly in front of him, this man is hanging on for dear life. For a moment he almost gives in, but somehow manages to stop himself. He tells Akari that intimacy should only happen between people who truly love each other. Then he reminds her that she likes Minami. Akari fires back immediately by reminding him that he likes Shiori too. And after that conversation, Akari suddenly decides they should stop pretending to act like a married couple. For the next few days, Akari spends most of her time hanging out with her friends or staying locked in her room, while Gyru hides in gaming mode trying to avoid reality. Because of this, their scores begin dropping rapidly. When the weekly rankings are announced, disaster strikes. Minami and Shiori have climbed all the way to A rank while Gyru and Akari crash down to E rank. Bro got absolutely demolished in the Romance Olympics. Even the scoring system looked disappointed in him. Later, Kamo asks Gyru if something happened between him and Akari, but before Gyru can answer, Shiori arrives and asks to talk with him privately on the rooftop. She even tries cheering him up and making him smile during their conversation. Afterward, Gyru heads back home and apologizes to Akari for what happened that night. He admits that he's also had fantasies about her because at the end of the day he's still a normal guy. But he explains that he stopped himself because he didn't want her regretting it later. Classic Gyru behavior, always late emotionally, but somehow still morally responsible. Gyru then asks Akari if they can go back to acting like a married couple for the sake of improving their ranking again. Akari laughs at how naive he sounds but agrees anyway, casually saying that she loves him since she is technically his wife after all. That night, Akari stands alone on the balcony blushing while replaying those words in her head. Meanwhile, Gyru remains completely clueless about the emotional landmine he just stepped on. Later at school, everyone gathers for PE class. Akari and her friends talk about rankings and future partner switches while Gyru quietly suffers in jealousy because both Akari and Shiori seem impressed watching Minami dominate on the basketball court. And just to make things even worse, Kamo casually mentions that Minami apparently said he has no intention of switching partners anymore. Sachi confirms this to Akari, leaving her completely unsure about what's going to happen next. Then Kamo jokingly says that maybe Minami and Shiori will actually end up getting married someday. Bro really woke up and chose emotional damage. Gyru, of course, immediately imagines the worst possible scenario where Minami defeats him completely, steals both Shiori and Akari, and leaves him alone like some tragic background character in his own anime. After school, Shiori talks with Gyru about the rankings and quietly tells him that she doesn't want to switch partners until Gyru reaches A rank too. Gyru is just about to tell her about him and Akari acting like a proper couple again when Kamo suddenly barges in screaming that he saw Akari and Minami kissing. Naturally, Gyru's soul immediately instantly leaves his body. But in reality the situation was completely different. During class Akari got caught talking and was punished by being sent to the storage room to organize supply. While she was cleaning, a box suddenly started falling toward her and Minami rushed in to save her at the last second. The moment he grabbed her, Akari realized her heart still raced whenever he got close. She then nervously asks Minami if he plans on staying paired with Shiori forever, and Minami calmly says yes. That answer completely crushes Akari. She starts tearing up, but when Minami notices, she quickly lies and says dust just got into her eyes while he helps clean the room. From far away Kamo sees the scene and instantly misunderstands everything because this man survives entirely on spreading chaos. Meanwhile Akari and Minami overhear Kamo talking to Gyru about the situation, but because Shiori is nearby, nobody says anything openly. Minami quietly leaves with Shiori while Akari walks past Gyru without saying a single word. Soon Kamo spreads the storage room misunderstanding to the rest of the class, and Gyru gets insanely jealous hearing everyone talk about Akari and Minami. Of course he pretends he doesn't care, but bro was internally collapsing harder than a cheap plastic chair. Later when they return home, Gyru sarcastically congratulates Akari for kissing Minami. Akari immediately bursts out laughing and explains what actually happened, leaving Gyru embarrassed for getting jealous so quickly. But after laughing for a moment, Akari suddenly starts crying again because Minami was serious about never switching partners. Seeing her break down, Gyru instinctively hugs her to comfort her. And the second he does, Akari completely loses control and starts sobbing into his chest. That evening Gyru actually regrets hugging her because he assumes she probably hated it. But surprisingly Akari's entire mood changes afterward. She suddenly starts calling him by his first name and even casually walks around wearing his t-shirt after taking a shower. Then she casually drops another emotional nuke by revealing that her kiss with Gyru was actually her first kiss. She even admits she's still completely inexperienced. Gyru nearly short-circuits hearing that, but at the same time this man secretly feels weirdly happy knowing these personal things about her. The next morning Gyru leaves early for school because of class duties, and Akari actually comes outside just to see him off. She fixes his tie, hugs him goodbye, and acts exactly like a loving wife. At this point even the viewers are sitting there like, bro, this is not acting anymore. Deep down Gyru also starts wishing she would do these things because she genuinely likes him and not just because of the practical assignment. At school he discovers that Shiori is also on morning duty because she's helping cover for her friend Mei Himano. Gyru instantly gets excited because he finally has a chance to spend time alone with her. Meanwhile at a cafe, Akari's friends start teasing her and suggest that she might actually be falling for Gyru. Akari immediately freezes and can't even deny it properly. Back at school, despite finally being alone with Shiori, Gyru still can't hold a normal conversation. This man overthinks every sentence so hard it feels like he's trying to solve advanced mathematics just to say hello. Bro desperately needs a flirting tutorial DLC. After classes end, Akari notices Gyru and Shiori talking happily together in the classroom and immediately sees how comfortable Gyru looks around her. Shiori also senses the atmosphere and quietly decides to hold back her own feelings. At the same time Gyru regrets once again that he still couldn't confess to Shiori properly. Later that night Gyru stands dramatically on the apartment balconies. Akari walks over carrying 2 cups of warm milk and joins him outside. Gyru starts talking about how disappointed he feels for failing to confess to Shiori even after finally getting alone time with her. Trying to distract himself, he suddenly changes the topic and starts talking about Minami instead. But Akari interrupts him and asks him to start calling her by her first name. She points out that he has no problem calling Shiori by her first name, so why is she different? Especially when she's technically his wife. Gyru, being socially malfunctioning as usual, awkwardly says it just feels different with her. But Akari immediately gets jealous and starts teasing him non-stop, refusing to let the topic die. Then she explains that hearing someone call her Akari makes her feel special because her name means a bright light shining in the sky. So Gyru finally gathers the courage to call her Akari and tells her the name suits her perfectly. Akari instantly gets shy hearing that and quietly says he should always call her by her first name because when she calls him by his first name, it makes her feel like she's the only one who truly loves him. Gyru's brain takes several business days to process what she just said, but by the time he realizes how insanely romantic that sounded, Akari has already escaped back into her room, leaving this man standing there buffering emotionally on the balcony. Gyru convinces himself that Akari probably said those romantic things by accident because there's no way a girl like her could actually fall for a guy like him. Bro's self-esteem is so low it's practically underground. Meanwhile, Akari spends the entire night panicking over what she accidentally revealed to him. The next day, the teacher announces a special exam where each couple's scores will be combined. If one partner fails, both of them get dragged into extra classes together. Gyru instantly starts sweating because some of his own grades are already shaky, and he's He's never once seen Akari study seriously in her life. His fears immediately become reality when Akari casually admits she has zero interest in studying and already made plans to hang out with her friends instead. Gyru forces her to cancel everything and stay home to study with him. After a ridiculous amount of arguing and whining, Akari reluctantly agrees. Gyru tries teaching her properly, but concentrating becomes nearly impossible because Akari keeps flirting instead of studying. She sits way too close to him, leans against him, and keeps weaponizing her beauty like she's trying to launch a psychological attack. Meanwhile, Gyru is fighting for his life, trying to act normal. Even so, he somehow suppresses his inner panic and tells her to focus on studying. Surprisingly, Akari slowly starts enjoying solving math problems and begins playfully calling him sensei, asking if hearing that makes his heart race. Gyru awkwardly denies it, but honestly this man was one step away from exploding. Then things suddenly escalate when Akari casually sits on his lap and starts teasing him just to prove his heart really does react to her. Gyru completely loses control for a second and pins Akari down onto the couch right as they're about to kiss. But before the moment can continue, Akari notices blood dripping from Gyru's nose. Bro literally turned into a full anime cliché. Akari laughs and teases him, saying that while he only got a nosebleed, her actual feelings were about to spill out instead. Gyru cannot survive a single romantic scene without his body betraying him immediately. Later, Gyru tells her not to stress too much about studying, but Akari quietly admits she actually wants to stay together with him. The next morning though, she suddenly starts calling him Yaquin again instead of his first name. It bothers Gyru more than he expected, but he keeps quiet about it. Later that evening, Gyru is about to shower when Akari suddenly barges into the bathroom, excitedly announcing that they've climbed all the way to 8th place in the rankings and might actually be able to switch partners soon. But the second she notices Gyru shirtless, her confidence completely evaporates. As they continue talking, Gyru finally realizes something important. Akari only started calling him Yaquin because he always called her Watanabe too. So for the very first time, he softly calls her Akari. And the moment she hears it, she instantly lights up with happiness. From then on, the two of them officially start calling each other by their first names, making their relationship feel way more personal than before. Meanwhile at school, Mei Hamano talks with Shiori and warns her that Akari and Gyru might be getting closer. She tells Shiori that if she really likes Gyru, she needs to strengthen her own bond with him too. Right after that, a football suddenly smacks Shiori in the head and knocks her out cold. Shiori gets taken to the nurse's office to rest. Later, Mei runs into Gyru in the hallway and hands him sandwiches and water to deliver to Shiori. So Gyru visits her in the nurse's office and the two quietly chat together for a while. Then out of nowhere, Shiori shyly asks him if they can practice kissing because she still hasn't kissed Minami yet. Gyru somehow agrees despite his soul visibly leaving his body. The two slowly lean closer and are just about to kiss when Shiori suddenly pulls back at the last second. But at that exact moment, one of Akari's friends walks into the nurse's office and sees two figures lying together on the bed. She can't tell who they are, but immediately assumes something incredibly suspicious is happening. After Akari's friend leaves, we finally see what happened. Gyru accidentally ended up kissing Shiori for real. Both of them immediately freeze from embarrassment, and Gyru bolts out of the room like somebody activated a fire alarm directly inside his chest. Later, Akari's friend tells her about the suspicious couple in the nurse's office, and Akari instantly assumes it was Gyru and Shiori together. Hearing that completely ruins her mood. When she gets home, she finds Gyru unconscious on the couch after stuffing himself with an entire giant chocolate bar. Apparently, emotional stress and sugar are now this man's coping mechanism. Seeing Gyru getting closer to Shiori makes Akari painfully jealous. So, in frustration, she lies down next to him wearing only shorts and rests her head on his arm before falling asleep beside him. This man was literally unconscious and still somehow causing romantic chaos. The next morning, Gyru wakes up and nearly dies after seeing Akari sleeping beside him in such revealing clothes. He immediately panics and tells her to go put something on. Akari instantly starts teasing him and pretends he was the one who made a move on her the previous night. Gyru looks absolutely horrified, like he suddenly realized he's trapped inside the world's most dangerous rom-com. But it turns out Akari only did all this to test whether anything really happened between him and Shiori. And little by little, Akari starts becoming more open about her feelings for him. At school, while helping clean up trash, Akari's friends notice her blushing the second Gyru's name gets brought up. Later, while hanging out together, they directly ask her if she likes him. Akari immediately turns red and stays completely silent. To her surprise though, instead of teasing her, her friends fully support her feelings and encourage her not to overthink things so much. Meanwhile, our boy Gyru is still completely clueless about half the feelings flying around him. Later that evening, Gyru helps Akari put on her yukata for the summer festival. While he fixes it for her, Akari casually says that even though she's gotten closer to Gyru lately, she still wants to spend the festival together with Minami. At the festival, Akari's friends do everything possible to help set her up with Minami, but the whole time Akari feels strangely guilty because the yukata Gyru carefully helped her wear was actually meant to impress another guy. And then fate immediately decides to troll everyone because Minami suddenly cancels their plans at the last minute due to work. Surprisingly, instead of being sad, Akari feels relieved, but that relief gets destroyed instantly when she later spots Minami at the festival together with Shiori. That sight completely breaks her heart. Meanwhile, Gyru is standing alone on the apartment balcony wondering if things between him and Akari will eventually go back to normal after they switch partners. Bro's already emotionally preparing for post-divorce depression before the relationship even officially exists. Suddenly his phone rings, and it's Akari. She's sitting outside the house crying alone. Akari apologizes to Gyru while also feeling guilty toward her friends who tried so hard to help her get together with Minami. After calming down a little, the two quietly watch the festival fireworks together from the balcony. Then another dangerously romantic moment happens when Akari asks Gyru to fix the ribbon on her yukata and softly tells him to call her Akari again. At this point, these two are one emotional scene away from becoming an actual married couple. The next day after school, they check the latest rankings and discover they're still stuck in 13th place. Since only the top 10 couples qualify for partner switching, both of them feel disappointed. Later that night, while Gyru is taking a bath, Akari suddenly bursts into the bathroom screaming because she saw a spider. Bro cannot even shower peacefully in this house. The two search everywhere for it, but the spider has already disappeared. When Gyru asks how big it was, Akari shyly replies, "About the size of your banana." This anime really woke up one day and chose chaos. Akari then asks Gyru to stay beside her for emotional support until they find the spider. But while waiting, she suddenly needs to use the bathroom and awkwardly asks him to stay outside the door in case the spider returns. Afterward, Akari gets embarrassed, but she also quietly realizes how lucky she feels having Gyru as her husband because there's no way she could ever ask Minami to do something this ridiculous for her. While talking together, Akari brings up the top 5 couples in their class. Gyru points out that those couples are all genuinely dating each other, so there's no way he and Akari could ever reach that level naturally. Akari instantly takes the opportunity to jokingly suggest that maybe they should just start dating too. The moment those words leave her mouth, Gyru completely freezes. But before his overloaded brain can respond, Akari quickly laughs it off and says she was only joking. Still, her words remain stuck in Gyru's head afterward. He keeps wondering what he would have said if she had actually meant it. Bro is permanently trapped inside his own overthinking simulator. Before he can continue spiraling emotionally, Akari suddenly spots the spider hiding on the curtain. Gyru heroically defeats it like a true warrior while Akari watches him with admiration. Afterward, Gyru suggests buying insect spray, but Akari says she doesn't need it because now she has someone who'll always come save her whenever she calls. And yes, she was absolutely talking about him. Meanwhile, Minami notices that Shiori has been acting strangely quiet lately and asks if something's bothering her. Shiori awkwardly explains the accidental kiss with Gyru by pretending it happened to a friend. She says this friend accidentally kissed the person she likes. As she continues explaining the situation, Minami suddenly spits tea all over himself after realizing Shiori is obviously talking about him. Minami then gives her surprisingly mature advice, telling her that her friend should look honestly at her feelings and have more confidence in herself. Later that evening, Gyru meets Kumo at a restaurant, where Kumo starts ranting about how his own partner kicked him out. Then this menace casually brings up Gyru's accidental kiss with Shiori, making Gyru panic instantly. To make things even worse, Kumo jokingly leans in and threatens to kiss Gyru himself just to erase the memory of Shiori's kiss from his mind. And naturally, at that exact moment, Shiori walks past the restaurant and sees Kumo leaning suspiciously close to Gyru. Bro's life has officially become a misunderstanding speedrun. Gyru immediately sprints outside trying to explain the situation before Shiori gets the wrong idea. But hilariously, Shiori wasn't even thinking about that at all. She was distracted by completely different emotional problems. Once Gyru mentions Kumo's name, Shiori finally understands what happened, and the two awkwardly return to talking normally again. Noticing how heavy Shiori's bag looked, Gyru offered to carry it for her. Shiori smiled and quietly commented that if they were actually dating, this was probably how things would be between them. But halfway through the sentence, she awkwardly stopped herself before the atmosphere became too emotional. Then she brought up the nurse's office incident and tried explaining what she meant back then. But instead of making things clearer, her explanation accidentally made Gyru think she still only saw him as a childhood friend. Right when the mood started getting serious, Shiori suddenly leaned closer like she was about to kiss him. And at that exact moment, two random cats nearby started fighting loudly. Bro's Bro's romantic life was genuinely getting sabotaged by nature itself. The moment instantly died and both of them awkwardly headed home. Soon summer vacation began, and the teacher informed everyone that their married couple practical would continue exactly where they left off once school started again. Gyru started thinking about how Shirori would probably spend her vacation peacefully visiting family while he wasted his own break gaming indoors like a true goblin. After class, Kamo excitedly told Gyru about a beachside part-time job he had applied for. Then he casually revealed that he had also signed Gyru up without permission. Gyru instantly refused because he wanted to stay home playing games instead of talking to real human beings. Bro's life philosophy was literally games first, social interaction never. But right then Shirori walked by, noticed the flyer, and revealed that she and Mei had also applied for the same job. Kamo immediately jumped in and told her Gyru would be working there too. The second Shirori looked happy about it, Gyru folded instantly and agreed to go. And naturally, this man immediately started imagining romantic beach moments with Shirori before the job had even started. Kamo then jokingly reminded him that he should probably ask his wife for permission first. Back at home, Akari suddenly showed Gyru a brand new swimsuit while excitedly talking about her beach trip. Gyru awkwardly warned her that beaches were not exactly safe and suggested she should not go alone with random guy. But Akari revealed she was actually going there for a part-time job and would even be staying overnight. Hearing that strangely relieved Gyru more than expected. Then he casually mentioned he was also heading there for work along with Shirori. Akari instantly got jealous and teasingly asked if he was going to miss her while he was there. She then asked what he thought about her swimsuit. Gyru awkwardly admitted it was kind of revealing but honestly looked really good on her. Akari smugly replied that she never planned to wear it at the beach anyway because that swimsuit was only meant for Gyru to see. Bro's heart nearly logged out permanently after hearing that. Soon Gyru noticed something suspicious. The job flyers for both him and Akari were identical. Without realizing it, they had both accidentally applied to the exact same beach job. The next day, everyone boarded a ship heading toward the beach cafe where they would be working during vacation. Meanwhile, Shirori quietly decided that this summer she was finally going to take action regarding her feelings for Gyru. Minami acted as the guide since the cafe was connected to the one he already worked at. He showed everyone their rooms and told them to unpack before training began. Meanwhile, Akari and her friends immediately started planning late-night card games like true vacation gremlin. At the cafe, everyone changed into work uniforms for training. Kamo's older brother announced that the staff would split into two groups. One team would handle customers while the other would work in the kitchen. Gyru jokingly complimented Kamo's outfit, and Kamo proudly said his brother prepared everything for him. Then he openly admitted the only reason he joined was to admire girls in swimsuits all day. At least this idiot was honest. Shirori walked over and asked Gyru which section he would be working in. When he said the kitchen, she immediately volunteered for kitchen duty too because she saw this as her chance to finally get closer to him. Meanwhile, Minami taught Akari how to manage customer payments and cafe service. At the same time, Mei quietly encouraged Shirori to show Gyru how cute she could really be. Later, Gyru got asked to grab supplies from a high shelf because Shirori could not reach it. Sensing romantic progress nearby, Mei literally dragged Kamo away before he ruined the moment with stupidity. While Gyru tried decorating a milkshake with whipped cream, Shirori suddenly moved closer to him, making him panic so badly that he completely messed up the drink. Bro could not even prepare beverages without turning it into a romance disaster. Shirori then asked Gyru to wipe cream off her face, and right when she was about to confess her feelings, Akari's friends suddenly interrupted them. Classic Gyru luck. The universe saw emotional development and instantly hit the emergency brakes. Later, everyone headed to the beach together. Gyru noticed Akari's swimsuit was completely different from the one she showed him earlier, reminding him of what she said before about only wanting him to see it. But instead of processing that emotionally, he immediately convinced himself he was just overthinking again. Bro treated every romantic hint like fake news. Soon Shirori and Mei walked over and asked Gyru about his swimsuit. Naturally, this genius forgot to bring one at all. Then Shirori pointed toward a nearby hotel, accidentally making everyone think she wanted to go there alone with Gyru. But it turned out she was only referring to a beach area beside the hotel. This anime genuinely could not survive 5 minutes without misunderstandings. As everyone started building sandcastles, Shirori asked Gyru to hold hands with her through the center of the castle just like they used to do as children. Akari noticed this immediately and jealousy activated at full power once again. After a while, everyone got thirsty, so Gyru and Akari volunteered to buy drinks together. At the shop, the vendor casually commented on how cute they looked as a couple. Gyru awkwardly laughed instead of responding properly, and Akari instantly scolded him for it. She said Minami definitely would have replied smoothly in that situation. Gyru internally died hearing that because basic flirting still felt harder to him than advanced physics. While Gyru went to collect the drinks, two random guys approached Akari and started hitting on her aggressively. Gyru noticed them bothering her but could not think of anything cool or confident to say. So in full panic mode he blurted out that Akari was his wife and they were already married. The two guys instantly apologized and ran away. Meanwhile, Akari froze for a second after hearing Gyru call her his wife so naturally. She got embarrassed but also incredibly happy. Gyru quickly apologized for saying something so impulsive, but Akari just teased him for failing to sound cool. Then she quietly admitted she actually liked hearing him say it and hoped he would say things like that again someday. Of course, Gyru just stood there nodding like a malfunctioning non-playable character. Later that evening, all the girls relaxed together in the communal bath while talking about romance and relationships. Akari used the opportunity to casually chat with Shiori too. After leaving the bath, Akari spotted Gyru outside and instantly smiled seeing him there. But when she noticed his neck got sunburned, she told him to sit beside her so she could apply sunscreen for him. Gyru immediately got nervous, worrying that people nearby might misunderstand the situation if they saw them acting so close in public. Akari feels completely disheartened and finally loses control of her emotions. She hugs Gyru tightly from behind and quietly tells him that she misses how close they used to be back at home. But before she can finish saying what she truly feels, they suddenly hear Sachi's voice nearby and immediately separate in panic. Akari quickly makes up an excuse, saying she was only asking Gyru to get her a drink. A little later Gyru returns with the drink, but while handing it over he casually calls her Watanabe instead of Akari. Naturally, this completely ruins her mood. Akari instantly gets annoyed and tells him to meet her later that night on the beach. That evening, while everyone is getting ready to sleep, people suddenly realize both Akari and Gyru are missing. This immediately makes Shiori anxious because she starts wondering if the two of them are together somewhere alone. Meanwhile, Gyru meets Akari on the beach and immediately starts apologizing despite not even understanding what exactly he did wrong. Frustrated, Akari snaps at him and says she just wants him to call her by her first name properly. She accuses him of avoiding her ever since they arrived at the beach. Gyru awkwardly explains that he was only trying to give her more opportunities to spend time with Minami. But Akari finally admits that what she actually wanted was for him to treat her the same way he does when they are together at home. Gyru gets completely confused hearing this and starts wondering if she is jealous about him spending time with other girl. Akari instantly gets flustered and quickly claims she only means it for the practical assignment. Right then they suddenly hear footsteps nearby and hurriedly hide together in a cramped little space nearby. The people approaching turn out to be Mei and Shiori taking a nighttime walk along the beach. While hiding there beside Gyru, Akari cannot stop thinking about how even though she knows Gyru likes Shiori, she still cannot suppress her own feelings for him anymore. Meanwhile, Shiori hears strange noises nearby and starts feeling uneasy, so she quickly convinces Mei to leave. At this point, Gyru's life has officially become one giant romantic disaster. Bro somehow created multiple love triangles despite barely being able to hold normal conversations. Once they are alone again, Gyru teases Akari and accuses her of always messing with his feelings. But instead of getting playful, Akari becomes frustrated with herself. She complains that his elbow is pressing against her awkwardly, only for Gyru to nervously explain that it is not actually his elbow. The realization instantly turns Akari bright red. The intense heat and embarrassment become too much for Gyru and he literally faints on the spot. Bro genuinely cannot survive one romantic interaction without his body shutting down. Akari panics and quickly calls for help. Later, Gyru wakes up inside a sauna room and apologizes again for troubling her. But this time Akari actually gets angry and yells at him. She finally blurts out that all she wants is for them to stay as close as they were back home. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shiori lies awake, unable to sleep after returning from the beach. She cannot stop thinking about the fact that both Akari and Gyru disappeared together earlier. Her insecurities slowly start taking over as she wonders if the two of them might have become closer in ways she cannot compete with. The next morning, Akari goes right back teasing Gyru while brushing her teeth like nothing happened. Gyru secretly feels relieved seeing that she is not angry anymore, though honestly this man would probably panic even if she calmly offered him cookies. Later at the cafe, Shiori mentions that she will participate in the evening activity. Gyru explains that it is a test of courage event taking place in the forest at night. Shiori immediately gets nervous, but Gyru reassures her by saying that if she is with him, everything will be fine because he understands her fears better than anyone. Hearing that makes Shiori completely melt. She shyly tells him she really likes his gentleman side before leaving the kitchen. Gyru probably blushed so hard his soul almost escaped his body. Right after that, Kamo suddenly appears from behind because apparently this man exists purely to overhear romantic conversations. Kamo tells Gyru that if he really wants to, he can arrange things so Shiori becomes his permanent partner because his older brother owns the cafe and can manipulate the pairings. And naturally, he even demands money for it because apparently emotional manipulation is now a business model. That evening, with Mei's help, Kamo figures out everyone's pairings for the courage test. According to the plan, Shiori gets gets paired with Gyru while Akari ends up with Minami. As soon as the event starts, Akari immediately screams after seeing an insect in the forest. Minami gently grabs her hand and asks if she is okay with him holding it while they walk. Akari agrees, but secretly she finds herself thinking about Gyru instead. A little later she realizes she accidentally dropped her phone somewhere in the forest. After some time the groups begin returning one by one. Kamo instantly asks Gyru if anything romantic happened between him and Shiori, but Gyru explains that Shiori spent most of the event too scared to focus on anything else. Meanwhile Akari and Minami still have not returned. Just as Shiori prepares to call Minami, Kamo's older brother receives a call explaining that Akari dropped her phone and got separated from Minami while searching for it. He tells everyone to return to their rooms while he goes to look for them, but instead of listening, Gyru immediately runs into the forest himself to find Akari. Shiori tries stopping him, but of course he does not listen. Meanwhile Akari sits alone in the rain blaming herself for always depending on other people. Gyru manages to find her phone, but still cannot find Akari herself. On the other side Minami eventually finds Akari, and for a split second she mistakes him for Gyru. Rain begins pouring heavily, forcing the two to wait together under a small shelter. While there, Minami apologizes for not realizing sooner that Akari liked him. Then he quietly confesses that he himself has always loved someone he could never have. It turns out Minami was in love with his older brother's girlfriend all this time. Meanwhile Shiori catches up to Gyru and tells him that Minami already found Akari. Gyru feels relieved hearing she is safe, but at the same time he cannot stop the painful feeling that it was not him who managed to save her. As they sit together in the rain, Shiori quietly admits that although she admires Gyru's kindness, she also wants to see him as her husband just like Akari does. Then she confesses that Gyru is the only person she has ever kissed and asks if he feels the same way about her. Gyru stays completely silent. Shiori sadly stands up to leave, but Gyru suddenly calls her back. She hugs him tightly and tells him she wants to know parts of him that even Akari does not understand. Then she kisses him. At this point Gyru's life is basically emotional chaos wearing human form. Meanwhile under the shelter Minami encourages Akari by telling her that if Gyru is still single, then she still has a chance. Akari smiles and promises she will do her best. As the rain continues falling, she quietly rests her head on Minami's shoulder while thinking about her future with Gyru. At the exact same time, Gyru is standing in the rain kissing Shiori because apparently this man physically cannot go one day without creating more romantic complications. The next day Akari visits a temple once again. This time instead of praying for Minami, she prays for Gyru. Meanwhile Shiori keeps replaying the kiss from the previous night in her head while realizing that Akari truly loves Gyru too. Gyru himself remains confused because after kissing him, Shiori suddenly apologized and left without explaining anything. Later Gyru visits a bookstore to buy manga and coincidentally runs into Shiori, who came to buy something for her little brother. Since it starts raining outside, Shiori invites him to her practical home nearby. While joking around she even calls him her husband and says she wants to live together with him like a real couple. But once they get inside, both of them become awkward remembering the kiss from the previous night. Gyru struggles to express what he feels, and eventually Shiori quietly leaves the room midway through their conversation thinking he might already be tired of her. Meanwhile Gyru sits outside completely misunderstanding everything and starts wondering if Shiori has begun disliking him. A little later Shiori suddenly returns with a smile and tells him to look outside. A beautiful double rainbow stretches across the sky. The two stand together on the balcony while Shiori takes a selfie with him. Then she finally shows him a photo from their beach trip. Gyru almost confesses his feelings right there, until he notices Akari smiling in the picture too. That single image completely stops him. Back at home, Gyru keeps wondering why he could not confess something so important to Shiori. Then suddenly his phone starts exploding with messages from Akari asking him to meet her at the station for a date in 2 hours. Gyru gets completely confused because summer vacation is still going on, meaning there is no reason for them to continue pretending to be a married couple anymore. Still, after thinking for a while, he heads to the station and arrives 10 minutes early. 15 minutes pass and Akari still does not appear. Gyru starts convincing himself this is probably some prank and prepares to leave, but right as he turns around, Akari finally arrives while apologizing for being late. She explains she spent extra time choosing a special outfit for the day. Then she happily drags him around on what is very obviously a real date. Little by little they begin talking comfortably again just like they do back at home. They share chocolate smoothies together, and Gyru starts wondering whether Akari has changed recently or if she was always this warm and caring underneath her teasing personality. His answer comes when he sees her happily playing with cats inside a cat cafe. Watching her smile like that genuinely makes him happy. Later Akari suddenly remembers she forgot to visit the temple, so she immediately rushes there with Gyru chasing after her. On the way they unexpectedly run into Shiori, who is also heading to the temple. Akari suddenly suddenly challenges Shirori to a race, and surprisingly both girls arrive at the exact same time while poor Gyru struggles behind them completely exhausted. The three quietly make their wishes at the temple together without revealing what they prayed for. And that is where the anime ends. If you enjoyed the recap, do not forget to like the video and subscribe for more anime recaps.